Hi, my name is Parker, or as you may know on this channel, Bubberific. From a very young age, I have always loved building things. I've, just got into a few years ago building computers, and this is my current PC. It's pretty good, and I love the hobby. I love everything about it, right? And when I was younger, I used to do more woodworking stuff with my grandpa, and we'd have a really fun time doing that too. But in between those two phases of me building computers and the woodworking when I was younger, I got into the Element 14 YouTube channel. It's a really cool YouTube channel, and you should go check it out if you are into like the maker space of building things. It is really cool and interesting, and you can learn so much from everyone there. I used to watch a show called The Ben Heck Show, which followed a guy named Ben Heck, and he basically built portable versions of consoles, or he did, crazy things like build the giant Game Boy. There's so much and so many episodes that you can check out. He made pinball machines, just really everything. So I just want to say thank you, Ben Heck, for being the inspiration behind everything I've done in the terms of portabilizing. So this is an emulation console based off of Raspberry Pi Model 3B Plus, and it is all my design. I am I know quite a bit about soldering and stuff, but I didn't want to have to try splicing controllers, so this is like a circuit board that you can just like wire stuff to. Very cool. It's you can buy one on Amazon for around $50. And then there's you got a IPS LCD display, analog stick, buttons. But yeah, this is what I made here. I'll peel off the film here, but I don't really have a name for this thing, but the case is completely designed by me, and I 3D printed it on my Ender 3 3D printer that I also built. So here it is. You can see my my recording, but yeah, this is the console. You can play any game older than 1998 on this thing. So it was printed with a normal black PLA finish, and then I finished it off with, I used 2-in-1 fillable sandable primer, and then I used Bondo spot putty to basically make it a smoother finish. Then I went over with primer again, sanded it, wet sanded it, blah blah blah, and then I painted it, and then you applied clear coat, and you get a really nice looking smooth finish. Like, you wouldn't even tell this is 3D printed unless you really know. Like, this feels I don't know, it doesn't feel injection molded. It feels like the plastic of, if you have a Switch, it feels like a Joy-Con, kind of like that kind of plastic, maybe with like a little bit more, not as smooth, maybe like a little bit more matte, I guess, if that's the right word for that. But yeah, this is the story of how I built this console. So I'll go into detail on how I finished it, how I designed the case and everything. So I really hope you guys do enjoy this video, because this has always been a dream of mine, to build something like this. And I'll go into the software side of it later as well. It's using RetroPie, which is just an open source emulation software that uses RetroArch and some other emulators. It's really great. So yeah, you can pretty much play like any console. You can play PlayStation, the original PlayStation, of course, NES, SNES, Game Gear, the Sega Genesis, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. You can really do so much. So yeah, I'll show you guys how this is made. So yeah. Alright guys, so here is the original LCD display panel that I was going to use for this project. So basically what it does is it goes onto the Raspberry Pi. So here's actually the Raspberry Pi right there, but I decided not to use that because it wouldn't have suited what I basically needed to do in order to get it not as small as possible, but more convenient. So yeah, I'm using a Raspberry Pi Model 3B Plus. We have a 8GB micro SD card. Now you're probably wondering, how are we going to power this? Well, what we're going to do is use I'm pretty sure it's called an 18650 lithium-ion battery cell, flat top cell,
And yeah, so basically it is 3,400 milliamp hours, and these will go and attach to the inside of the Pi. Well, actually, it'll attach to the main circuit board, and I will show that just in a second. So here's the circuit board right now with the battery installed. I've just installed it. So as you can see, we have the circuit board. Basically, what it will do is it attaches to the Pi, and it comes with some buttons. Those what you guys will see in a second, but it has speakers, buttons, analog sticks. Very nice thing, and this saves me so much time and having to design my own circuit board and soldering, as you can see, a lot of different electronics or like splicing controllers. Cuts down on cables because there are literally no cables in this whole thing. It really is just so much more convenient. So basically, these are the Gpio pins for the Raspberry Pi, and what we want to do is line up those pins with the other board. So as you can see, there's those pins right there, and if we line those up, they will basically go together. And that will allow us to get power to the screen, the buttons, and everything. So here's some of the other stuff we have for that. So I have the analog stick, as you just saw, those buttons, and off camera I do end up sanding those down into a more matte finish, and they fit a lot better. So this is the 3D model prototypes that I've been doing. I use the 3D modeling software Tinkercad to do it. So that is the like dimensions of a Raspberry Pi. That's what it is always gonna like look like. So I can use that for reference. This is like a reference model online that I was able to use just to get some of the like proportions correct. That's just to line up the buttons and everything. It's the same thing as using like a 3D model of like an Xbox controller if you wanted to make your own shell for that. So I made those two prototype design shells, as you can see. And then I had to get the spacings right because that little model I got first wasn't perfect. So I got all those lined up, and I ended up with something like this. But yeah, in the end, I do actually end up changing the model a little bit, and you'll see that in just a second. Alright, so what you guys are seeing here is the final model pieces for the portable. So you can see we have the base, we have the top piece, we have a supporting structure and the inside just in case anything ever gets loose, and we have the joystick cover. So everything I just said is in order from the largest piece to the smallest piece. So as you guys can see, this is the final product if it is all put together. And that is exactly what it looks like on the inside of the thing. On the console, this is exactly what it looks like on the inside. Alright, so here's actually all the test pieces that I printed for this project. I needed to make sure things lined it up correctly, and I didn't want to just have to print a literal like whole case every time and wait like 6 to 12 hours, because it took around 11 to 12 hours per each base prototype, and I printed 2 of them. But yeah, you can see we have all these little pieces here, and then the top piece, I'm pretty sure it was like a 6-hour print, because I wanted to print it on nice quality, you know, so it would be easier to do a finish for, because you know, I didn't want to have to do a ton of work. So yeah, that's like prototype pieces to make sure things fit correctly, and they clearly did, which is really nice. So here's the faceplate for the project. As you can see, it was printed, and then we have the base piece. And now let's get to spray painting and finishing. So what am I doing right now is I am covering it in 2-in-1 fillable and sandable primer. And then what I will do is sand that off, and then basically I will just let that do its thing, and then I will fill it with Bondo spot putty, sand it, and rinse and repeat. So as you can see, we have all that. So here's all the pieces and parts for this. I can just use a piece of foam after this putty, and then we can basically just apply it like so. So as you can see, I'm just applying that to all the parts that I need, and then I will sand and then rinse and repeat that process over again. So it looks something like that. And then I'll rinse and repeat so you can see me prime it again. The primer does not have to look good by any means because it'll get sanded. I use this really cool video on YouTube about how by 3D printed props, and he is a really cool channel, really nice, and he basically walked through the process of how you should finish prints. So I'm using a 1200 grit sandpaper right now to get a nice finish, and I'm using water to wet sand it, and as you can see, it looks great. As you can see, the process is kind of like a rinse and repeat process, especially for wet sanding. You just have to keep going at it. So as you can see right now I'm painting it with some matte black spray paint, like what you saw earlier in this video. Later down the line in this project, I did end up having to actually finish the thing more because there were some imperfections. So I just went over it with primer again, sanded it, used Bondo Spot putty, rinse, repeat, and it got to a really nice finish point. So now let's actually glue it together. I'm going to be using Gorilla Glue Super Glue for this. I know you see Gorilla Glue ads, but their stuff actually is amazing. It works very well, cures amazing. I obviously let mine sit for quite a while. But yeah, it turned out really good, so here's the footage for that.
So I'm pretty sure I don't actually have any old footage of this, but this is the old design for this, for the console. So this would use a old SNES controller. There's like hot glue and stuff all on the inside, as you can see. I took all the stuff out because it, but the circuit board for the controller died. So this would have been a lot more painful to work with. Like this, you had a separate battery bank, like everything custom, right? The one nice thing that I was able to actually get working, it still works, 'cause, like if you hooked up a Raspberry Pi, is this little power button. Very satisfying to press, but yeah, this just uses an old SNES controller motherboard. It's a knockoff one that's like $7, so I'm not actually using real hardware. And this just didn't really work out. This is actually printed on my friend's Prusa Mini printer. And yeah, the print turned out really nice. He did low quality, but like I was able to sand it and everything, and it the finish was pretty good. Like that's before I had like spot putty or anything. But yeah, this is actually the second prototype. I will flash up some of the first working prototypes on there. But I'm so happy with how the end result looks. And I know it's probably nicer with the D-pad just because it's not as like tall, but I genuinely feel like, because with the circuit board I bought, it came with like an analog stick, and I was like, I didn't want to rewire something with like switches or anything, because like this is like, just look at this compared to like this, and this is a lot more comfortable, because look at how like this is just really bulky. Like it's fine, but like it's not the best, and I can actually go grab, I have a bin of a bunch of old electronic stuff that I've used. This is the bottom piece for it. This is not sanded, never has been. You can see this is supposed to be like a nice slope, and it really is. It's really not. So yeah, this is another one of the original. This is the bottom prototype piece. So the Raspberry Pi would sit off on here. The battery would go here. This is my initials right there. But yeah, then that's a speaker port. There's no, and then the charging would be right here. So it was, yeah, it was like, it would have functioned if everything went together, but everything didn't go together, and I literally like procrastinated this project for so long. But yeah, this thing is really, when you like pop the two things together, it is like, I believe it's like, yeah, it's thicker than like this, and this is pretty thick. But like, you know, it's like, it's not that bad, right? This is super thick and long. Oh gosh. As you can see, like longer than this one. So yeah. Yeah, so you can see, if I pick up the camera, you can see the difference in size comparison. So yeah, these are, this is an old prototype, but yeah, I'm so glad I was able to get this working. But yeah, these are the two. This is the second prototype, and then you guys saw the first prototype already. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this final one turned out. But yeah, so guys, this is the finished product. We have access to a power switch, micro USB, and a headphone jack, 3.5mm headphone jack. It's held together with, as you guys have seen, super glue, and then I did some touch-ups so it matches the color, so if there's any whiting. So you can see, we got the analog stick here. You know, I didn't want to set the expectation that this is going to look perfect, because it's not going to look perfect. I don't have the resources to make it look absolutely perfect. One thing I also didn't show in the recording, because I did this all off camera, was I snipped the outer pieces and then I made them matte by doing using a very high grit sandpaper. So I'll just put that button back on, but I will turn this on and you guys can see kind of what it looks like when it's on. So I have quite a few ROMs on here. I'll try to hold it still for the recording. Just want to let the exposure maybe go down a bit. But yeah, you can see we have NES games, Nintendo 64, Mega Drive, or Genesis, depending on where you live or see this. Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, and Atari 2600. So that's basically the consoles I have on here, because, I mean, like, first of all, this thing emulates PlayStation games really, really well. And I have an original PlayStation, so I can literally go off of the things. But, yeah, I'll show you guys, let's play like a staple game, right? Let's play Mario.
So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that Nintendo has a copyright claim on the Mario Bros. Theme, so I'm just gonna mute the audio and speed it up. But yeah, the game works amazing, so yeah. I will play some other games too.
I guess let's do Centipede for the Atari 2600. Alright. No, are you kidding me? There's one left. There's one left. There we go. But yeah, that's the console. You can play. It emulates, you know, original PlayStation at 60 FPS. Amazing. It emulates all of these games really well. And if it thinks it's using an analog stick, it is mapped for the drivers to think it's using like a joystick or an analog stick for arcade games, for like MAME. If I wanted to add MAME games on there. or it thinks it's using a D-pad otherwise for like NES games or anything like that, or like it's using a joystick for the Atari games. Like that's what the emulation software thinks it's using. So yeah, it's really nice, and I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I'm really just, you know, I'm so happy that it turned out like this, and I can, you know, bring it anywhere. It has around 4 to 5 hours of battery life, so really it's yeah, if you want to, if you can easily take it on like a long car ride, and if you ever run low on power, you can charge it. You can play while it's charging, but it will like run at a lower power mode just to make sure nothing gets like overheated, or not overheated, but overvolted. Because like, you know how the clock speeds would change if we're like running this thing on. So I would recommend like what I would do personally is charge it with it off. There's also battery indicators. So if you look in through the vents on this side, oh, there was something in the vent, just blew it away. You can see that it is brighter towards this side, and obviously I'm not gonna like wait here for like a few hours for this thing to die, but basically this thing actually changes quite significantly. So it's around 50% battery. You can see these are brighter than this one. It looks kind of hard to follow on camera, but in real life it's extremely easy to see. And then these will be blinking if you charge it and plug it in. So yeah, it's and this is my handheld console that I made. I hope you guys really enjoy this video. This has been a very long time in the making. Yeah, so I hope you guys do enjoy, or did enjoy this video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one, because a little sneak peek, I made that.
What the dog doing?